Just want to say a few words to our members and candidates. We have actually planned a lot of activities and events over the next 12 months. Unfortunately, COVID-19 derailed the plans we had, and our exams also got postponed from June to December. But we are now back on track. So please stay tuned. Let me now introduce our speaker, Haresh Pereira. He's a Director of Digital Transformation at PWC Sri Lanka. He has over 22 years of experience in the areas of program and project management, enterprise application design, business solutions consulting, and implementation. And he will take you through PWC's Digital Fitness Assessment app and how it helps professionals and students explore digital trends and adapt to new ways of working and learning for free. Over to you, Haresh.
Thank you, Rosharara, and for the CFA team giving this opportunity to PWC Sri Lanka. So let me start with sharing some of the insights. So I trust everybody can see my screen. So let me just, so key aspects that I would like to cover, as some of you may be already using the digital fitness application, and for some it may be very new to you. We like to consider this with where we are at today. We want to talk about new world, new skills. And just like we look at our fitness with our physical fitness, I think it's very timely that we also need to consider our digital fitness. It is not purely on a technology play, but we all are living in a connected world, and in a connected world where we move with the social media, the organizations we work with, there are aspects that we need to be aware and be effective. So to start with, I thought it would be good first to talk about in terms of what upskilling is. Now, upskilling may mean many things to different people, and one of the things I thought it would be good to put a little bit of a definition around it. So upskilling is actually more than just providing or accessing training. I think we all have gone through within our organizations or as students certain trainings, but is that adequate? What it really means is, in today's world, we talk about knowledge, we talk about skills, we talk about experience, and this is what is most valuable in terms of the future. So in terms of, we talk about transformation. So what is transformation and how do we go about it is not a very simple aspect. So it requires new ways of thinking, new roles to take on within and work within our challenging environment. So most importantly, we want to talk about individuals, because a collection of individuals will result in teams, and also for whether it be the private sector, the public sector, or any of our work aspects, we have different roles to play. And therefore, what's also important to understand is when we upskill ourselves, we actually look at inspiring people, and we will be in a position to understand those concepts that help our base foundation more structured, and also then we'll be able to enhance on them based on our appetite and liking. So upskilling means, I feel it is a mandatory requirement. It is what we call a lifelong journey, and you're never too late to start that journey, even if you have not begun. So if we were to further move on and understand, as I mentioned earlier, technology and people, the most important aspects that we see in the world is that we live in a society. So the entire society we interact with, we deal with different people. And if you take from a CFA perspective, you do have, when you look at from a transformation perspective, be it from a professional body perspective, you're looking at making that change at an individual level as well as a membership and a body perspective. So this is not only limited to few organizations, it's across all organizations. And I would like to consider the concept of citizen-led transformation, right? So if we further move on, what are the trends that PwC has identified, which I think you should consider here is, by 2022, the landscape of work is changing. And what we have found based on the World Economic Forum and Future of Jobs report that's come out, interestingly, you can see around 75 million roles will be in decline, right? However, while those are in decline, there is around 133 million people will need new career paths. So while things are evolving and changing, there are new ways and new career paths that are evolving. And so how do we make sure all of us take the relevant and right path? Because I think we are all overwhelmed with so much information that is made available to us. Now, at any given time, if somebody has a particular question, feel free to use the chat option to provide your questions, and we'll see how we can take up those at the end of this session. The next aspect that I would like to also draw your attention to is, if you look at, actually staff are worried about their futures. It will not necessarily be with regard to a pandemic. If you take across the entire global situation today, I think we all understand we are in challenging times. So there is tremendous pressure for governments and businesses to perform, right? So what we are seeing is around 55% of people are worried with automation and innovations happening around us. While those are great things, there may be an impact on their jobs, and they fear that some of their jobs will be taken because automation and innovation is taking some of those critical aspects and embracing. I think CEOs and all are embracing this new technology. On the other hand, 37% of workers are worried about automation putting their jobs at risk, right? So it's not always bad, but we just need to understand some of the concerns based on some of the research that we have done, and also from global studies. And 60% think few people will have stable long-term employment in the future. I think some of the, in the earlier times, you would have found that once we get into a certain job, some of these jobs will give you up to your retirement. Therefore, if I learn something and I perform at a particular level and keep at an incremental level to continue, then I should not be worried, right? So this, if you look at the 30% of jobs at high risk of displacement, and we are in now 2020, so in another 10 years time, is something that I would like you to think about it. And while we think about that, PwC also has considered ways of supporting these concerns and looking at ways to help address some of these pressures. In terms of organizations, now it's interesting in this challenging environments, that you would see that around $3 trillion have been invested each year by technology organizations in terms of doing some sort of programs of training, etc. But they're finding only incremental changes in their staff and workforce. So they have spent a lot of money, but they are not seeing significant gains or some sort of transformation. And also, you can see around 79%, now that's a significant percent of CEOs, are worried about the availability of key skills. Now, where is the problem is something that we need to really understand. So almost 80% of CEOs are looking for some new skills, but there's a huge workforce. Obviously, we have a significant population, but they're not able to find these people, right? So what we are also seeing is that 46% of the CEOs say we need to do something about it. So our first priority is to remedy this issue by reskilling our own workforce. So they are taking charge in terms of doing some programs to rethink the current way of training. Maybe we need to do learning by doing and certain other aspects of upskilling to make sure their own members within the organization are able to take on some of these new roles, or make sure that based on our customers' needs, we are able to support them. Now, the other dimension that I would like to also bring is about from a staff perspective. So from the research that we find, about 77% are actually ready to learn. Now, what does that mean? That means we are having around 2/3 of the population are volunteering and are ready to retrain themselves. Sometimes what we want to unlearn some things that we've learned earlier and relearn some things, right? But even if they are willing to do so, if you'll see, only around 2 days per month are spent in terms of trainings. So that does not help in terms of a particular person being upskilled and being ready. So it's a constant journey, right? So what we have seen from the early aspect is there is a uneasiness in the minds of certain people that automation is taking my jobs away. On the other hand, organizations have opportunity, but they are not finding the right skills. Further, staff are also ready to take up the challenge, but they are not given that full opportunity in general. The other aspect that we have done in terms of the PWC's 22nd annual global CEO survey that we've taken a view, you can see that around 55%, right? CEOs are just connecting with what I had mentioned earlier. Again, connecting with our survey, they are not able to innovate. And as you know, in today's environment, innovation is key to keep good margins, profitability, and to make sure that we deliver high quality services to customers. We ourselves are customers, and we expect certain for the services we pay some sort of a value, right? The other drivers also, you can see that around 52%, they are saying that the people cost is rising. And again, what I was alluding to earlier was that the costs are rising, there is some investment being done, but they are not seeing that in terms of a significant return, right? And the other aspects, I think we all talk about customer experience. We can see in terms of around 47% indicate that, you know, to provide good customer experience, it can be from the front office, middle office, and back office in terms of how we treat people. So this will give you a perspective of the lack of skills in terms of relevance. So we do have skills, but are they relevant and apt to today's business needs, be it in the services, products, manufacturing area? Now, I would like to also give you a view, since we touched upon 2030, which is a 10-year horizon. You can see that on this particular analysis per industry in terms of jobs at risk. And you can see again, I will take some example. If you take for financial services and insurance, we are seeing something like into a 30 to 40%, because automation, digital transformation, these are high in terms of the agendas of all the CXOs in the organizations. And as professionals of the professional bodies, we actually work in these senior roles and middle management roles, and certainly these are aspects that we need to be aware. So automation is here to stay. It will not go away. Organizations are looking at accelerating things, optimizing their costs. But again, if you look at in terms of aspects, you can see if you take the manufacturing, transportation, there are major changes that are happening per the survey that you've seen. And the last aspect that I want to just cover is you can see a trend where we've seen, you can see on the extreme left, the global trend in terms of the assessment, and across all industries, whether it be the communications, that's the telecommunications, we look at the industrial manufacturing, pharmaceuticals, entertainment media, etc. You can see significant retraining and upskilling is very high on the agenda of the CXOs, right? So only if you look at from an insurance industry perspective, based on how the roles are, obviously insurance has its variations of life and general. You can see some percentages, but significantly from a minimum 36% to around 46%, there is a focus on upskilling. And that's why we are talking to you about this subject. And we want to give you a point of view. What are the global trends? And those global trends are no different, whether it be in Asia Pacific or Sri Lanka. And we need to be aware of them and then look at what next is available. So to address this, PWC, being one of the professional services organizations, which has around 275,000 staff globally, we've looked at a program called New World, New Skills, right? So by launching this program, there are a couple of things that we had a mission and a purpose, right? While we want to transform our own people, we know that only 275,000 consulting members within the organization are not going to make a big change. We need to do more. So what have we been doing? So our mission is to make sure millions of people around the world improve their understanding, their skills, and the knowledge where we operate in a digital world. So to highlight some few aspects that we've been doing within the entire network of PWC, including PWC Sri Lanka, is we've upskilled our own people. We've taken the charge first. First, we need to do something before we go and preach to others. We also are looking at helping organizations prepare their workforces to our direct clients, what these changes are and how we can move on. We are also taking this conversation at a more global forums, like if you take the Davos, the economic forums, we are taking the debate on and making sure that upskilling is a community-wide program, right? And we should not only restrict it to only few people who have the resources. We understand that there are limited resources, so that we've also looked at how we can contribute towards that. So if you look at in terms of a time scale, we've spent around $3 billion in terms of a plan that we have done over 4 years, in terms of primary focusing in terms of training our people in the new ways and the new skills, in terms of the upskilling, how we want to go about that. Further, we have used technology to help us. We cannot just look at a personal level, providing that knowledge and upskilling people. So we've used a technology called digital fitness application, where we assess the skills of all our PWC members. I myself and my team use this application, which is an enterprise grade application. So the same application now is made available to all of you free of charge. So that's why we are excited about it. We've launched it a couple of weeks back to Sri Lanka, and we want to make sure that everybody, even within CFA, your professional members as well as students, have access to this resource and take advantage of it. So a couple of aspects that I thought it would be good to give some highlights for those who have not yet had an opportunity to get into the digital fitness application is, let me give you a little bit of an overview. What is available and how you may make use of it. So first, it's important to understand that to create a new digital business leader, we need to understand how they learn and what they need. It's not one size fits all. It's an individual preference. We need to respect that, but we need to also make sure that we provide the relevant content for those individuals to grow and also contribute effectively. So keeping that in mind, the digital fitness app covers 3 areas. So initially, we talk about an assessment phase. And this is where we have curated around 23 questions that will help an individual go through and validate what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses in terms of a digital understanding. And yes, it will give you what we call a digital score. Now, that digital score will kind of give you some sort of encouragement to give a view, this is where I stand now. And if there are certain elements that I want to improve, then there are other steps that you can take action on. So what are those? That's where we've come up with what we call a digital fitness plan, where we are talking about providing bite-sized learning, because we are all busy. We've got many things to do. We find, sometimes the time is not enough. So how do we make sure the bite-sized learning helps internalize certain concepts? We get a good foundation and we can explore further. So PWC also has looked at, without throwing all the possible content around, we've provided around 60 topics and 300 curated artifacts and certain topics of interest that is relevant today. And we keep this information up to date so that when the world and the digital space changes, that also is made available for the individuals to make use of it. Now, as you can see, this is a mobile app. That helps you whenever you're traveling. We looked at concepts of accessing it whenever you feel that you are able to take on this particular information, and upskill yourself. Now on the grow aspect, what I would like to touch upon is once you take a fitness app, of which I will cover what are the types of fitness plans you have, you will be able to see your digital score rising. And that will be an encouragement to you that, now I'm shifting in some sort of direction in certain areas that I needed to get a better understanding. And therefore, you can customize your plan every week and see your progress. The other aspects is just like we go and do a fitness plan, sometimes due to various other priorities, we forget or we miss certain sessions, right? So how do we keep ourselves on track? So we've thought about that too. And we looked at ways of nudging you and keeping you updated and excited you, and some sort of gamification so that, you're kept on some level of track to make sure that you complete those journeys. Now, to come to these, while skills are an important aspect, PWC did about 10 years of research with the Katzenbach Center, where we looked at, it's not only about skills. We need to look at mindset with regard to your values, your beliefs, your attitudes. We all have biasness, so in terms of thinking. Then, as we are living in a connected world, we also need to look at building relationships, genuine relationships, connecting with people, and how do we foster those relationships are a key aspect in terms of our growth. And lastly, we also understood that behavior, that means having good habits and having a digital acumen, are critical in today's needs and connecting us back to what the CXOs and the organizations and customers are looking for. So if you look at the content, if you have been using the application or are going to use it, you will see that with these icons, the content that we have tagged will have an icon with skills, or it can have a combination of skills and mindsets and relationships. So whatever content you're taking, that, while I'm taking that content, not only I'm going to address my skills, some of that content is going to also help me in terms of my mindset, behavior, or relationship. So that's to a great extent how this material will be helpful to you. In terms of, if you look at the plans, there are 3 plans that we have provided. For those who are really into it, you can use an Olympian plan of 60 minutes per week. So 60 minutes only is 1 hour, right? But if you want to take it a bit easy and start initially, you can take a 20-minute recreational plan, or we use a plan called athletic plan. So you can select whatever your preference is. And then, as I earlier mentioned to you, you can track and progress and see how things are moving on. I just pause a bit now just to check if there are any specific questions at all. Okay, so what I will do is I will move back now again to the next part of the application. So this is to give you a view that once I log into this mobile application, which is available on whoever is using any Android devices, you can, without mentioning any brands, you can use any of your phones to connect with this. Or if you are using, especially on the Apple, of course, Apple is, you have what we call an iOS system, where obviously you will connect on your Apple mobile, or it's also available on iPad. So initially, when you log into your system, it will address you by your name. As you can see on the right hand top side, you can see there is a digital score that is being given to you. And also it will give you at a given point how much time you have completed and what type of plan you have taken. And also it gives you a quick bite-sized learning content, as you can see with that icon that I mentioned, right, on top in terms of the content. And if you scroll through the app, if I go to the middle part, we have looked at, learning styles are different for different people. Some of us like to read material. Some like to just listen to a podcast, or while you're traveling, or while you're relaxing, you can listen to a podcast. Some like visually to see things and learn. So you may want to watch content. So you can either take it in an individual way of reading, listening, or watching, or combination. The application supports you in all learning methods. And as you can see, there is interesting content for all of you professionals. You want to learn. So we've brought in some curated material, which I will go into the next slide to show you. So for example, you want to get an idea about PWC has its own strategy and business arm. We have some good content that is made available. We have material from The Economist and some of the curated information, which is made available in this app. And further, even since we are in the modern world, it's not only learning certain concepts, we also need to understand, how do we manage our own matters. So even PWC has looked at, based on our research, of providing some of the more recent content made available through this particular application. So this is what your application homepage would look like if you logged into the application. And then if you were to go to the library, I mentioned earlier, you have around 60 content that's made available, grouped in some logic. So I think content that is relevant to all of us, and there are some buzzwords put in, but we've tried to provide that information that is really interesting and made available to you, so that it is consumed based on at your pace. So topics like artificial intelligence, you want to know what is augmented reality. You want to, I think, topics like analytics, insights, 3D printing is also taking, it's part of the 8 essential things that's happening around in the world. So these new topics are being provided for you to go into detail. And another aspect is the score. So for your profile, we will be creating a score based on the questions that you initially did an assessment. And then based on the plans you take, you can see under behavior, mindset, relationships, skills, how your score is defined in line with some of the content and how we are looking at things. So these are areas that will be an encouragement to you. Okay, if I need to work a bit more in terms of my skills, now it's an opportunity in terms of how I move on, right? And any of this material that you would like to, keep on a constant look, you can bookmark this. So this application gives you the flexibility from a user experience to make use of how we go about navigating and having interesting content. Now the material that I want to highlight to you is we are bringing you top class content free of charge, such as I mentioned earlier, The Economist, the TED, the MIT technology reviews. I also mentioned to you about Strategy And, which is PwC's strategy group. Then we also have content from the US Department of Health in terms of the education department. So we have tried to make sure that we are not giving you unlimited content, but selected content that is relevant. And this is being, the feedback is being provided to our teams, where we start curating, and this information is being done by a central team from US. In terms of the 300 pieces of digital content that I had earlier mentioned, as you can see, be it business, be it experience, be it technology, you can explore on all or some of these areas. And that's why I think it's more important that being some of your professionals or students can explore areas, and there's something for everybody, as I mentioned earlier. So in terms of business, you want to understand what is the future of energy, or in terms of what is digital disruption. How do you go about in terms of agile project delivery? Here's an area that you can dive into. On the other hand, if you're looking at experience-based aspects, like you want to understand about omni-channel experience, how does digital marketing work? We've heard about smarter cities. What are the possibilities? Under the experience section, this content is made available. And on the technology front, while I think some of you have already heard these topics like blockchain, data modeling, security, artificial intelligence, which I touched upon earlier. Something really hot and relevant to us is the robotic process automation that's taking place in the recent past in all our organizations that we see. So these are topics that are important and relevant to you. And it is very important that you have at least a foundation knowledge. It's not that you need to have a depth and breadth of all these areas, but you need to have at least a foundation knowledge to have a insightful conversation. Of course, if you want to have more detailed understanding, the application provides you that capability for you to go into depth and master things. So if I were to summarize, the digital fitness application for the world is made free of charge. We've made sure that the content is being streamed on a weekly basis. The content gets updated on certain topics. So it has information relevant to the business impact, even staying healthy based on the current situation. Even for family and educators, there's content that is made available. And all of this can be easily accessed if you go to you type in digital fitness assessment on the Apple Store, or if you look at in terms of the Google Play Store, you can easily find this particular application. And if you use this code, it's free of charge, which is LRNAN. And just to give you a view that we also have the same thing on our site. So if we go to, if you look at our digital fitness application, if you just Google it on PWC's digital fitness application on your web browser, you can easily go to this particular link, which is our global site, where you can click and download this particular application, and it will give you the content, as I mentioned, on these particular relevant topics. Now, just an example, if you go into iOS, you will be taken to the App Store, where you will be able to see the following application, and you can download the information concerned. So this is what I intended to cover today in terms of this particular topic. So I will just check again with everybody in terms of if there are any specific questions you have for me. I'll do my best to provide that insight. Certainly, a lot of resources are available on the PW site, and in case you have any trouble or issues, you can get in touch with PWC Sri Lanka, where we are a team to support you on this particular aspect.
One question is, the password is LRNLL, right?
Yes. So actually, if you go to this site, yes,
I mean
LRN all, correct.
LRN
ALL, and what I will do is, after this session, I will share a link maybe with your team, so that it will be easy. You can share with your members and students, where they can have a hyperlink and they can go and download it. I'll be happy to do that.
That will help. Yeah.
Sure.
Because I'm still trying to log in, but couldn't get in. I put the email address.
Yes, there are some steps. What I will do is after this session, I will share you a guide which may be helpful to some of you. So there is a guide. If I were to quickly just go through, there are a couple of steps that you will have to go through where you will do an installation. Then it will ask you for your email address.
Yeah.
And after you register your email address, it will ask you for the code where you can run through the particular code, right? A few steps that you may have to go through. And then once you get there, we also would like to, so we are not keeping any specific personal information for the benefit. We are just keeping that to make sure that there is some authentication happening for you. So you can get an SMS code to confirm that for you after you register, right? And go through this process. So after this session, I will share this particular guide also with so that some of the team members who need some support on this, how to navigate through, it will be easy for you to go through that. I hope that will help.
Yeah, because what I got is a message say you have entered an invalid email. So you have to use official emails, or even Gmail is.
No, you can use a personal email also on this. We are not restricted into anything. But I will send out this guide, Ravi, to the rest of the team. I think you can use it, and in case you all have any issues, you can be in touch with me. Yeah.
Okay, I think that guide will help.
Sure, sure.
What is
so
it
just
for you? Development of the app obviously would have been done for PWC, but now usually nobody shares what would have cost a lot of money. What are you expecting from this app? Because obviously you're offering it.
We are not yeah. So as I said, Ravi, our this is a global mission from PWC, right? So there is no financial expectation we are having. We are giving it actually free for a particular period. The global is looking at based on the request, having it free for a longer period of time. The idea is, Ravi, is to make sure that more people get access to these resources, because everybody does not have access, right? So our global CEO's vision is, how do we make sure upskilling becomes a community activity? So it involves, not only few people. So based on the vision that we mentioned, that's where at each country level we have looked at in doing multiple sessions, enabling and making this available to people to take advantage. But sometimes, as we find, when we give things free of charge, also people don't appreciate sometimes, right? So, but in this situation, we are not looking at any financial benefit. We are actually looking at if we see some of your members taking advantage of those skills and upskilling themselves, actually when they come to even PWC or any other organizations, so some of these students will obviously have a career path with some of our professional organizations as well as outside organizations. We've got them skilled in certain areas, which is a countrywide initiative which is important today.